Today we're looking at a late 50s, early 60s Kodak 127 Brownie, a vintage camera that you could buy today for less than £1. This camera was the original plastic fantastic. They made them between 1959 and 1963. They would have set you back about $30 in today's money, and they were the next step in evolution for the Brownie. But aside from a few styling changes, this camera deviates very little from the original Brownies. In fact, with a fixed aperture, you could argue that it's actually got less functionality than the previous Brownies. So the 127 Brownie has a fixed shutter at 1/50th of a second. It has a fixed aperture at f11. You can't focus on anything that's closer than 5 feet away unless you have a special close-up adapter. It took 127 film, and on that film you would get 8 pictures, which were 1 1/8 of an inch by 2.5 inches big. But nowadays you can pick them up for between 99p and £5. They've reissued the 127 film, which I've got some here, and you can also put 35mm through it as well. So they should be a really good fun camera to use. So I'm going to go out, have a go at this camera with the 127 and 35. I'm going to show you how to do it, and we're going to see if it's worth it. So this is 127. They've just reissued it. They didn't make it for the longest time. And you can buy it at a premium from places like Analog Wonderland. The other way you can use 127 film is you can get a little 3D printed gadget called the FCK127. I've never actually used one, but it allows you to cut 120 film down to 127. So if you have used one of them, it would be great to know about it. Leave something in the comments so that we can all find out whether it's worth getting. So here's the 127, and here's the Brownie. So we've got to load it. Okay, time to load the film. Take it out of your little pot. Oh shit. I undid the sticker and it just went poof. So it turns out that 127 film is wound really tightly, a lot more tightly than 120, so let go of it at your peril. So I've got one more roll of this. Let's see how it goes. So we're on number 1 now. We've already wrecked 1 roll of film. We've got 1 left. This camera is not winning for me right now, but let's see if it proves me wrong. So I had planned to use 2 rolls of film and go for a walk down the river. We've only got 6 shots now, but we can still do that. No more swans. It's kind of cool because you see dots in the back. You get 1, 2, 3, number. Much easier than a lot of stuff. I really like those boats, but I can't get to them. Well, I can, but it won't end well.
You might notice that we're using a yellow filter with a lot of the images. A yellow filter, when used with black and white film, will increase contrast and help you preserve the sky in your images.
They've been told to sit and wait.
So for this system, we're going to put the 35mm film in the paper backing that the 127 film came in. So the first thing that you have to do is replace the tape that held the film in the same place, and attach your 35mm film emulsion side up where the old film was. Then in a darkroom or a changing bag, roll the film out all the way to the end, snip the end off, and then roll it back up again, adjust the tape so nothing folds over itself, and you should be ready to shoot. Just remember to roll it up really tightly.
So we've come out to the car park in the rain, and I'm going to use this roll, test it out. There's not a huge amount of light, so I might have to push this film like 3 stops because it's C200. But I have a light meter, because light meters aren't just for cameras with like knobs and dials and things. Oh, F16, I might not have to push it. Oh no. Perfect. Push it 1 stop, 60th at F11. That's why we have light meters. So the 35mm stuff came out really nicely. The only thing that was wrong with it was sometimes I was cropping things off at the edge. So as you can see, I've modified my viewfinder. And I thought to end this video, I get some really cool shots back at the Rex. So that's where we are. Because you can't adjust the aperture on this camera, you have to push your film. It's quite flat today, but there's not that much light. So I'm having to work a 200 ASA film up to 800 ASA, which is about as far as I'd ever want to push it. But we'll see what we get. Muddy. Push processing is when you overdevelop your negative or transparency in order to compensate for a lack of exposure at the time the picture was taken. Now, E6 and slide film is very frequently push processed. A lot of people think that people that push process C41 really need to evaluate their life choices. But if you're using a camera that only has 1 exposure setting, you have to find your flexibility somewhere else. I didn't think I was going to like this little camera. I mean, I'm a professional photographer. What do I want with a plastic camera? But I actually really enjoyed using it. I didn't even miss the shutter speed and iris. But it was great that you can shoot with 35, 127, get some really interesting results. So if anybody asks me, what's a great starter camera for a film photographer? I'd tell them this. And even if I'm wrong, it only cost them £1.